You've done this, or typed their name into a search bar at 1 a.m., then closed the tab before anything loaded. You don't want them back. You don't even want to talk to them. So why can't you stop thinking about them? There's a scientific name for this, and the real reason is going to surprise you, because it has almost nothing to do with missing them. You're in the shower, and you're not thinking about the day ahead. You're finishing a conversation that ended 8 months ago, saying the thing you didn't say, watching their face change the way it never actually did. The water's gone cold, and you haven't noticed. Their name is still in your phone. Not because you'd call it, you just never got around to deleting it. And some part of you knows that's not really about your contacts list. Here's the part that doesn't fit. It's rarely the people who were best to us. Sometimes someone loved you well, treated you kindly, said goodbye honestly, and years later you almost never think about them. Then there's someone else in your life for 6 months, someone you haven't spoken to in years. And somehow they still appear while you're driving home, brushing your teeth, standing in line for coffee. Not constantly. Just often enough to make you wonder why they're still there. Maybe the friendship faded without a conversation about why. Maybe the almost relationship ended in a text instead of an ending. Maybe the last time you saw them felt completely ordinary because you didn't know it was going to be the last time. We assume the mind holds on to people in proportion to how much we loved them. It doesn't. It holds on to what it couldn't finish. Because missing someone and still thinking about someone can feel identical from the inside, but they're not necessarily asking for the same thing. Missing someone is wanting them back in the room. You can know the relationship was wrong. You can know that if their name appeared on your phone tonight, you probably wouldn't answer. And still, 3 years later, you find yourself finishing an argument with them in the shower. There's nothing in that moment that necessarily wants them present. You're not planning a reunion. You're not secretly waiting for another chance. You're trying to make an old moment arrive somewhere. It never arrived the first time. And sometimes you can see the difference when you actually encounter the person again. You spend years remembering a version of them, their voice, the person you were when you knew them. Then one afternoon, you see them somewhere unexpected, across a grocery store or at a mutual friend's wedding. And for a second, there's a strange disconnect. They're older. Their life has continued. So has yours. The person standing there isn't quite the person you've been talking to in your head, because the version in your head stopped changing the day the story stopped. The real person keeps moving. But the unresolved moment doesn't. It can remain almost perfectly preserved, waiting for a response from someone who may not even exist in that form anymore. And so we replay it, not necessarily because we want to return to the relationship. Sometimes we're returning to the moment where the meaning broke off. Did I misunderstand? Did I matter to them at all? Those questions were never really about getting the person back. They were about what any of it had meant. And it doesn't have to be romantic. Think of the friend who moved cities. Nothing ended badly. At first, you still talked every week, then every few weeks. Then a response that took days instead of hours. Then eventually one of you sent a message that neither of you knew would be the last one. No fight, no clean line. Just a friendship slowly becoming past tense, while both of you were still speaking in the present. Years later, that can be the person who surfaces at 1 a.m., not the relationship that ended with a slammed door. The quiet one that never announced it was ending at all. There's another reason these endings can be difficult to recognize. Nothing dramatic happened. And when nothing dramatic happened, we sometimes feel as though we aren't entitled to call it a loss. There was no breakup, no moment to point to and say, there, that's when it ended. So the mind keeps looking for one, a last line, something that turns a collection of moments into a story with an ending. This isn't necessarily longing. It's an open loop. In the 1920s, a psychologist named Bluma Zygarnik noticed something odd about waiters. They remembered unfinished orders far better than the ones already paid. The moment the bill was settled, the mind let go. The unresolved order, that one stayed. The original finding was about unfinished tasks, not people, but it offers a useful way to think about why some endings stay with us. Your mind may be treating this person like a tab that never quite got closed, and an open loop doesn't become an ending simply because enough years pass. Sometimes the person disappears from your life long before the conversation disappears from your head. Maybe that's why closure can be misunderstood. We imagine it as something another person gives us, an explanation, an apology, the final conversation where everything suddenly makes sense. But sometimes that conversation never comes. And even if it did, the person you're waiting to hear it from may no longer be the person who could answer the question you're actually asking. So if someone still surfaces uninvited, not the person you love the longest, not even necessarily the person you miss, but the person where things just stopped, maybe the more useful question is what sentence you never got to finish. Because sometimes the person isn't what stayed. The unfinished sentence did. And if someone close to you has ever carried an ending like this, send them this one. They may recognize the sentence they've been carrying too.